In 2013, a woman shopping at a second-hand market in Dayton, Ohio, saw a coat that stopped her in her tracks. Navy blue with silver buttons, a specific cut, a tear in the left sleeve that had been carefully mended. She knew this coat. She had sewn it herself for her daughter 10 years earlier. She had added a hidden pocket in the lining, something she had done for every coat she had ever made for Hannah since she was a child, a secret place to keep things safe. The woman bought the coat with shaking hands, took it to her car, searched the hidden pocket she knew would be there, found a folded piece of paper, unfolded it with trembling fingers, read words written in her daughter's handwriting. "If someone finds this, I am in stone. Please." The message ended abruptly, as if someone had interrupted, as if there had been no time to finish. So the woman sat in her car and called the police, told them her daughter had been missing for 10 years, told them she had just found proof Hannah was alive, or had been alive when she wrote this note. This is the story of a young woman taken from a morning routine, of a mother who recognized a coat after a decade, and of how a hidden message stitched into fabric finally brought the truth to light. March 2013, Dayton, Ohio. Linda Brooks walked through the aisles of the Second Chance Market on a Saturday morning. She had been coming here for 10 years, not because she needed second-hand clothes, but because she was looking for anything that might have belonged to Hannah. Every jacket, every scarf, every pair of shoes. Linda checked them all, searched for something familiar, something that might tell her where her daughter had gone. The police had told her it was pointless, that if Hannah's belongings had ended up in a thrift store, they could be anywhere in the country by now, that the chances of Linda finding something were nearly impossible. But Linda came anyway. Every Saturday for 10 years. If you have ever lost someone you love, you know that searching becomes a way of keeping them alive. You know that giving up feels like betrayal. You know that hope, even unreasonable hope, is sometimes the only thing that gets you through another day. She was looking through a rack of winter coats when she saw it. Navy blue wool, silver buttons down the front. A specific cut that Linda recognized immediately because she had designed it herself. Linda's hands froze on the hanger. She pulled the coat off the rack, checked the left sleeve, so found the tear that Hannah had gotten catching it on a fence. Found the careful mending Linda had done the night before Hannah disappeared. This was Hannah's coat, the one she had been wearing the morning she vanished in 2003. Linda's legs went weak. She sat down on a nearby bench, held the coat in her lap, felt the fabric between her fingers. If you have ever found something that belonged to someone you lost, you know the sensation of time collapsing, of the past suddenly becoming present, of hope and grief arriving simultaneously. Linda remembered making this coat, remembered Hannah trying it on, remembered adding the hidden pocket in the lining. Something Linda had done since Hannah was 8 years old, a secret place to keep emergency money or important notes, something only Hannah and Linda knew about. Linda's hands moved to the lining, found the seam she had stitched, felt for the opening. There was something inside. She pulled out a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age, creased from being folded tightly. Linda unfolded it with shaking hands. The handwriting was Hannah's. Small, rushed, written in pen that had been pressed hard into the paper. "If someone finds this, I am in stone. Please." The message ended there. No signature, no additional information. Just those 8 words. To understand why those 8 words mattered, we need to go back 10 years, to understand the woman who wrote them, and the ordinary morning that changed everything. April 2003, Columbus, Ohio. Hannah Brooks was 25 years old. She had been working in the patient registration department at Columbus General Hospital for 2 years. The pay was steady, and the hours were predictable, and she liked helping people navigate the confusing process of hospital admissions. Her shift started at 7 in the morning. To get there on time, she left her apartment at 6 every morning, walked 3 blocks to the bus stop on West Broad Street, caught the 6:20 bus, arrived at the hospital by 6:50. It was a routine she had followed for 2 years without variation. Hannah was the kind of person who found comfort in routine, who liked knowing what each day would bring, who planned her mornings down to the minute so she never had to rush. She lived alone in a small apartment near downtown, called her mother every evening, visited her parents on Sundays for dinner, had a small circle of friends from work, was saving money to go back to school eventually, maybe nursing, maybe social work. So she hadn't decided yet, but she was young. She had time, or so she thought. What Hannah did not know was that someone had been watching her. For 3 months, someone had been learning her routine, learning her route, learning that she was alone, that no one walked with her, that no one waited with her at the bus stop. Michael Turner was 42 years old. He lived in a small house on the outskirts of Stone Creek, a town 30 miles northeast of Columbus. He worked as a freelance accountant, kept to himself, had not dated since his fiancée died in a car accident 4 years earlier. Her name had been Sarah. She had blonde hair that caught the light when she walked. A specific way of moving that Michael could recognize from a block away. And one morning in January 2003, Michael had been driving through Columbus for a client meeting when he saw a young woman walking toward a bus stop. Blonde hair, same build as Sarah, same way of walking. For a moment, Michael's heart had stopped. I think grief can do strange things to the human mind. It can make us see patterns that are not there. It can make us believe in connections that do not exist. And sometimes, in the most damaged minds, it can convince someone that fate has given them a second chance at something they lost. Michael told himself it was coincidence, that grief was making him see things that were not there. But the next week, he drove through Columbus again. Same time, same street. Saw the same woman walking to the same bus stop. He started coming every week, then twice a week, then every morning. For 3 months, Michael watched Hannah Brooks walk to the bus stop at 6:15 in the morning. Watched her wait. Watched her board the bus at 6:20. And slowly, over those 3 months, something shifted in Michael's mind. He started to believe that this was not coincidence, that fate had brought Hannah to him, that Sarah had been taken away, but now she was being returned in a different form, in a different life, but the same person underneath. April 15th, 2003. The morning Hannah disappeared. Hannah left her apartment at 6 in the morning as usual, wore her navy blue coat because the April morning was cold, walked the 3 blocks to the bus stop. The street was empty. No one else was waiting. The bus was not due for another 5 minutes. A car pulled up to the curb. A man rolled down the window and asked if she was waiting for the West Broad bus. Said he had seen her here before. Said the bus drivers were on a temporary route change this week due to construction. Said they were picking up 2 blocks over now. Hannah frowned. She had not heard about any construction, but she had been off work for 2 days. Maybe she had missed an announcement. The man seemed normal, middle-aged, well-dressed, spoke calmly. He told her he could give her a ride to the new stop if she wanted. Said he was heading that direction anyway. Hannah hesitated. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Never get in a car with strangers. She pulled out her phone, tried to search for bus route changes. But her phone signal was weak in this area. The page would not load. And she had been late twice this month already. Once because of a missed alarm, and once because the bus had mechanical problems. Her supervisor had pulled her aside last week, said one more late arrival would result in a formal warning. I want to pause here because I know what some people might think. They might wonder why Hannah got in that car. They might think they would have made a different choice. But the truth is, we all make small decisions every day based on incomplete information. We all trust strangers sometimes. We all take small risks because the alternative seems inconvenient or unlikely. Hannah was not foolish. She was human. And she was under pressure. And she had no way of knowing that the normal-looking man in the car was anything other than what he appeared to be. Hannah said, "Okay." She got in the car, sat in the passenger seat, buckled her seatbelt. The man pulled away from the curb, or drove 2 blocks, then 3, then turned onto the highway. Hannah's chest tightened, asked where they were going, said the bus stop should have been right there. The man did not answer, just kept driving. Hannah tried the door handle. It was locked. Tried the window button. It did not work. She told him to let her out. Her voice was firm, tried not to show fear. The man glanced at her. His expression had changed, no longer calm, no longer kind. He told her to be quiet, told her everything would be okay, told her she just needed to trust him. Hannah's pulse was racing. She reached for her phone, tried to call 911. The man grabbed it from her hand, threw it out the window onto the highway. Hannah started crying, asked what he wanted, said she had not done anything wrong. The man said she looked like someone. Aunt said she reminded him of someone he lost. Said he just wanted to take care of her. They drove for 40 minutes out of Columbus, through rural roads, into a small town called Stone Creek. The man pulled into a driveway at the end of a gravel road. A small house sat surrounded by trees, no neighbors visible, no other buildings nearby. He parked, turned off the engine, looked at Hannah, told her this was her new home, told her she would be safe here, told her to come inside. Hannah stood in the small living room, looked around desperately for a way out. Michael told her to take off her coat, said he would get her some water, said she needed to calm down. Hannah's mind was racing. She saw a small desk near the window, saw paper and a pen. While Michael was in the kitchen, Hannah grabbed a piece of paper, wrote as fast as she could, "If someone finds this, I am in Stone. Please." She heard Michael's footsteps returning, shoved the paper into the hidden pocket her mother had sewn into the coat lining, the pocket only Hannah and Linda knew about. Michael came back, told her again to take off the coat. His voice was harder now. Hannah took it off slowly, handed it to him. Michael looked at it, looked at Hannah, then walked outside. Hannah heard the door lock behind him, ran to the window, watched as Michael walked to a dumpster at the edge of the property, threw the coat inside, and with it, the only message Hannah had been able to send. Those of us who have experienced moments of desperation know the feeling of watching hope disappear, of doing everything you can, and knowing it might not be enough. Hannah stood at that window and watched the dumpster, watched the coat disappear, felt hope slip away. Did not know that 10 years later, that coat would find its way back, that the message she had written in desperation would finally reach the person it was meant for. The day after Hannah disappeared, Linda Brooks woke at 7 in the morning and called her daughter's apartment. No answer. She called Hannah's cell phone, went straight to voicemail. Linda told herself not to worry. Hannah was an adult. Maybe she had stayed at a friend's place. Maybe her phone had died. But Hannah always called, always let Linda know where she was. By noon, Linda drove to Hannah's apartment, used the spare key Hannah had given her, found the apartment empty, the bed made, Hannah's work bag gone. Everything looked normal except that Hannah was not there. Linda called the police at 2 in the afternoon. The officer who took the report asked the usual questions. Was Hannah depressed? Had there been problems at home? Was she seeing anyone who might have been controlling? Linda said no to everything. Hannah was happy, stable, had no reason to disappear. The officer said they would look into it, said most missing adults turned up within 48 hours, said to call back if Hannah did not come home. By the 3rd day, Detective James Walsh took over the case. He interviewed Linda and Richard, Hannah's father, asked about Hannah's routine, her habits, her last known location. Walsh checked with the bus drivers. None of them remembered seeing Hannah that morning. Checked surveillance cameras near the bus stop. Found nothing useful. Checked Hannah's bank account. No activity since April 14th. Checked her phone records. Last call made at 9:30 on April 14th to Linda. No calls or texts on April 15th. Walsh told Linda and Richard that without evidence of foul play, there was not much the police could do. Hannah was an adult. She had the right to leave if she wanted to. Linda said Hannah would not leave without telling her. Walsh said he understood. But the evidence suggested Hannah had left of her own accord. The case was classified as a voluntary missing person, remained open, but not actively investigated. Linda refused to accept it, printed thousands of flyers with Hannah's photo, posted them all over Columbus, drove to nearby towns and posted them there too. Richard returned to work after 3 months. Said someone had to keep paying the bills. Said searching was not bringing Hannah back. But Linda did not stop. And quit her job as a seamstress to search full-time, spent her savings, spent everything she had looking for her daughter. And every Saturday, she went to thrift stores, looked through racks of clothes, searched for anything that might have belonged to Hannah. For 10 years, she found nothing. Meanwhile, the coat began its journey. Hannah's navy blue coat sat in a dumpster behind Michael Turner's house in Stone Creek for 2 days. The fabric absorbed the smell of garbage. Rain fell on the 3rd day and soaked through the wool. On the 4th day, a man named Earl Jennings drove by in his pickup truck. Earl made a living collecting items from dumpsters and reselling them at flea markets. He saw the coat sticking out from under a pile of trash bags, pulled it out, shook off the dirt. The coat was good quality, wool, silver buttons, and worth keeping despite the smell. Earl threw the coat in the back of his truck with 24 other items he had collected that week. Drove to a donation center in Newark, Ohio. Dropped everything off in the donation bin outside. The coat sat in that bin for a week alongside old shoes, stained shirts, broken toys, and worn blankets. Then a volunteer named Patricia Cruz sorted through the donations. She separated items by type and condition. Put the coat in a box marked winter clothes, good condition. The box was loaded onto a truck with 50 other boxes, driven to a redistribution center in Akron, Ohio. There is something almost miraculous about the way objects can travel through the world, passed from hand to hand, stored and forgotten, rediscovered and passed on again. The coat that held Hannah's message was touched by dozens of people over the next 10 years. None of them knew what they were holding. None of them checked the hidden pocket. But somehow, against all odds, the coat kept moving, kept surviving, kept waiting to fulfill its purpose. The redistribution center received donations from 12 counties, sorted them, sent items to thrift stores across the state based on need and inventory levels. Hannah's coat was assigned to a Second Chance Market store in Canton, Ohio. Arrived in May 2003. Was inspected, cleaned, priced at $15. Hung on a rack with 30 other coats near the back of the store. Weeks passed. Customers walked by the coat, looked at it, felt the fabric, checked the price tag, put it back on the rack. Too expensive. Wrong color. Wrong size. In October 2003, the coat was marked down to $10. Still, no one bought it. In March 2004, the store manager pulled all unsold winter items, sent them to a clearance center in Toledo. The coat was repriced at $5, hung in a warehouse-sized store with thousands of other discounted items. A woman named Margaret Davis bought it in April 2004, paid $5, took it home, wore it twice, decided it did not fit right. The shoulders were too narrow. The length was too long. In November 2004, Margaret donated the coat to a church clothing drive. The church collected donations for disaster relief, sent boxes of clothes to organizations that distributed them to people in need. Hannah's coat was packed into a box with 20 other winter items, shipped to a disaster relief warehouse, and sat there for 6 months alongside emergency supplies and donated goods waiting to be deployed. In May 2005, the coat was shipped to a homeless shelter in Dayton, Ohio. The shelter distributed clothing to people staying there. Gave the coat to a woman named Teresa Lynn in December 2005. Teresa wore the coat for 2 winters. It kept her warm during cold nights when she had nowhere else to go. She took care of it, kept it clean, mended a loose button. In March 2007, Teresa got a job, saved money, found an apartment. Her life stabilized. In June 2007, she decided to move to Florida where her sister lived, packed her belongings, left the coat at a second chance market donation center in Dayton because Florida would be too warm for wool. The coat sat in storage for 3 years, was forgotten during a staff transition, and rediscovered during a warehouse reorganization in 2010. A manager looked at the coat, checked the quality, decided it was still in good condition despite being 7 years old, sent it to the second chance market in Dayton, priced it at $40 because vintage wool coats were popular again. The coat was hung on a rack with 200 other coats, waited there for 3 years. Hundreds of people walked past it, looked at it, moved on to other items. Until March 2013, when Linda Brooks walked through the aisles on a Saturday morning. While the coat traveled through Ohio, Hannah was fighting to survive. Hannah spent the first week in Michael Turner's house trying to escape. She tried every window, every door, every possible exit, found nothing. The windows were nailed shut. The doors were locked from the outside. The house was surrounded by trees with no neighbors in sight. Michael brought her food 3 times a day, talked to her like she was Sarah, called her Sarah, told her stories about their past together, about the plans they had made before the accident. Hannah told him she was not Sarah, told him her name was Hannah, told him her mother was looking for her. Michael said she was confused, said the accident had affected her memory, said she would remember eventually. Hannah realized Michael was not going to let her go, was not going to acknowledge reality, had convinced himself that Hannah was his dead fiancée. She stopped fighting after the first month, stopped arguing, started responding when Michael called her Sarah, started nodding when he told stories. If you have ever been in a situation where fighting back only makes things worse, then you understand why Hannah did this. Survival sometimes means pretending, sometimes means becoming what someone else needs you to be while holding on to who you really are inside. Hannah learned to exist in 2 states: the person Michael wanted her to be, and the person she actually was. Michael gave her books, let her watch television, cooked meals, did not hurt her physically, but would not let her leave, would not let her contact anyone. After 6 months, Michael started leaving doors unlocked during the day, started trusting that Hannah would not run, started believing his own delusion so completely that he thought she had accepted it too. Hannah considered running. But the house was miles from town. She had no phone, no car, no money. Running meant wandering through rural Ohio with nowhere to go. So she waited, hoped someone would find her, hoped the note she had hidden in her coat would somehow reach her mother. Years passed. Hannah's 26th birthday came. Michael made a cake, sang happy birthday, gave her gifts. Hannah thanked him, played the role he needed her to play, survived another year, her 30th birthday. Michael decorated the house, cooked her favorite meal, told her how happy he was that they were together. Hannah smiled, said thank you. went to bed that night, and cried quietly where Michael could not hear. Those who have survived long-term captivity know that time loses meaning, that days stretch into years without markers or milestones, that holding on to yourself becomes the hardest part. Hannah survived by remembering who she was, by repeating her real name in her mind every morning. Hannah Brooks, a daughter of Linda and Richard Brooks from Columbus, Ohio, 25 years old when she was taken. She remembered her mother's face, her father's laugh, her apartment, her job at the hospital, the route to the bus stop. She remembered everything she could, held on to those memories like anchors, refused to let Michael erase who she really was. And she waited. For 10 years, she waited. Back in Dayton, Linda sat in her car holding the coat, read the note 3 times, tried to understand. Stone. Stone what? Stone Creek? Stoneville? Stone Mountain? She pulled out her phone, called the number she had called hundreds of times over the past 10 years. Detective James Walsh answered on the second ring. He had worked Hannah's case from the beginning, had kept it open even when there were no leads. Linda told him she had found Hannah's coat and told him there was a note. Read him the message. Walsh was quiet for a moment, then told her to bring the coat to the station immediately, said not to touch the note anymore, said they would need to analyze it. Walsh called in the forensics team. They photographed the coat, photographed the note, carefully removed it from the hidden pocket using tweezers. The note was analyzed. The paper was standard notebook paper. The ink was blue ballpoint pen, common. But the handwriting matched samples of Hannah's writing. The note was authentic. Walsh studied the message. If someone finds this, I'm in stone. Please. Stone. Not enough information. But it was something. The first real lead in 10 years. Walsh pulled up a map, searched for every location in Ohio that started with stone, found 17 matches. As he calculated drive times from Columbus, eliminated locations more than 2 hours away, narrowed it to 8 possibilities. Stone Creek stood out. Population 1,200, 30 miles northeast of Columbus. Close enough for a morning drive. Small enough that a stranger could live unnoticed for years. Walsh pulled property records for Stone Creek, found 63 residential properties, too many to search without a warrant. He needed to narrow it down. He filtered by demographics, single male homeowners, ages 35 to 55, residents since at least 2003. 4 names appeared. Walsh ran background checks on all 4. Looked for anything unusual, anything that might indicate someone capable of kidnapping and holding a woman for 10 years. 3 had clean records, normal lives, jobs, families nearby. Nothing suspicious. The 4th was different. Michael James Turner, age 52. Purchased property in Stone Creek in 1999. Lived alone. Worked as a freelance accountant from home. No criminal record. But in 1999, Michael had filed multiple police reports related to his fiance's death. Sarah Mitchell, age 28. Killed in a car accident August 1999. Walsh pulled the accident report. Found a photo of Sarah. Blonde hair, blue eyes, slender build. He pulled up Hannah Brooks's missing person photo. Blonde hair, blue eyes, similar build. The resemblance was notable. Walsh called a forensic psychologist, described the situation, asked if it was possible someone could kidnap a stranger because they resembled a deceased loved one. The psychologist said yes. Said it was rare but documented. Called it replacement delusion. I said grief combined with isolation could create a psychological break where reality became negotiable, where the person convinced themselves the new person was actually the lost loved one returned. Walsh had enough for a warrant now. He called the Stone Creek Police Department. Small force. 3 officers. Chief named Tom Bradley. Walsh explained the situation. Said he had reason to believe a woman missing since 2003 might be at a property in Stone Creek. Asked for assistance. Bradley said they would help. They planned the operation for the following morning, March 2013, the morning of the rescue. Walsh arrived in Stone Creek at 6 in the morning, met Chief Bradley and 2 officers at the police station. They reviewed the plan. Surround the property, call Michael out. If he refused, breach the door. Priority was finding Hannah alive. Say they drove to 4782 County Road 17 in 2 vehicles. Parked at the end of the gravel driveway. The house was small. Single story. Surrounded by trees. No neighbors visible. Walsh and Bradley approached the front door. The 2 officers moved to cover the back exit. Walsh knocked. Called out that this was the Columbus Police Department. Asked Michael Turner to come outside. Silence. Walsh knocked again. Louder this time. Called Michael's name. A sound inside. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Michael stood in the doorway. 50s. Grey hair. Wearing a robe. Looked confused. Walsh identified himself. Said they were investigating a missing person case. Asked if they could come inside. Michael hesitated. Asked what this was about. Walsh said they had reason to believe Hannah Brooks might be at this address. Asked if Michael knew that name. Michael's expression changed. Something flickered behind his eyes. He started to close the door. Bradley pushed it open. Told Michael to step aside. Walsh moved down the hallway. Checked the first door. Bedroom empty. Checked the second door. Bathroom empty. Checked the third door. It was locked. Walsh told Michael to open it. Michael said no. Said that was Sarah's room. Said Sarah did not like strangers. Walsh felt his pulse quicken. Told Michael to open the door now. Michael refused. Said Sarah was sleeping. Said she should not be disturbed. Bradley told Michael they would break the door down if he did not open it. Michael looked between them, then slowly pulled a key from his robe pocket. Unlocked the door. Walsh pushed it open. A woman sat on a bed near the window. Thin, pale, blonde hair, longer than in her missing person photo, and she looked up when the door opened, eyes wide. Walsh asked if she was Hannah Brooks. The woman did not answer, just stared at him. Walsh asked again, told her his name, said he was with the Columbus police, said her mother had been looking for her. The woman's eyes filled with tears. My mother, Walsh nodded. Told her Linda had found her coat, had found the note. Said that was how they found this address. The woman started crying. Said her name was Hannah Brooks. Said she had been here for 10 years. Said Michael had taken her. Said he would not let her leave. Walsh turned to Michael. Told him he was under arrest for kidnapping. Michael shook his head. Said there was a mistake. Said that was Sarah, his fiancée. Said she had been in an accident but she was okay now. Said they were together. Bradley handcuffed Michael and read him his rights. Led him outside to the patrol car. Walsh stayed with Hannah. Told her she was safe. Asked if she was hurt. Asked if she needed medical attention. Hannah said she was okay. Just weak. Asked if her mother was really looking for her. Asked if Linda was alive. Walsh said yes. Said Linda had never stopped searching. Said she was waiting to see Hannah. Hannah covered her face with her hands. Cried for several minutes. Walsh sat down in a chair near the door. Gave her time. When Hannah looked up, she asked how long it had been. Walsh told her 10 years. April 2003 to March 2013. Hannah nodded. Said she had tried to keep track, but lost count after the first few years. Said she knew it had been a long time. Walsh called for an ambulance. Said they needed to take Hannah to the hospital, get her checked, and make sure she was healthy. Hannah asked if she could call her mother first. Walsh pulled out his phone, dialed Linda's number, handed the phone to Hannah. Linda answered on the first ring. Hannah? Hannah's voice broke. Mom, it is me. Linda started crying, asked if Hannah was okay, asked where she was. Hannah said she was in Stone Creek, said the police had found her, said she was safe. Linda arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later, ran through the hallways, found Hannah's room, stopped in the doorway. Hannah was sitting up in bed, turned when she heard footsteps. Mom. Linda crossed the room, wrapped her arms around her daughter, held her like she would never let go. I found you. Oh God, I found you. I never stopped looking. Never. Hannah held her mother, cried into Linda's shoulder. I knew you would. I wrote that note hoping you would find it, hoping someone would. Linda pulled back, looked at Hannah's face. Older now. 35 instead of 25. But still her daughter. The coat. I found the coat. I went to that thrift store like I do every Saturday, and there it was. Your coat with the hidden pocket I sewed. Hannah smiled through tears. I remembered the pocket. When he took me to that house, I found paper and wrote as fast as I could. I put it in the pocket, hoping it would survive, hoping you would find it someday. Linda said she had never given up, had gone to thrift stores every Saturday for 10 years, had checked every coat, every item, had refused to believe Hannah was gone. Hannah said she had thought about Linda every day, had held on to the memory of home, had survived by remembering who she really was. Richard arrived an hour later, walked into the room, stopped when he saw Hannah, started crying, crossed the room, hugged his daughter for the first time in 10 years. The three of them sat together in that hospital room, talked, cried, held each other. Michael Turner was charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, and a dozen related counts. During interrogation, he remained calm. Insisted Hannah was Sarah. Insisted she had been in an accident and forgotten who she was. Insisted he had been taking care of her. A psychiatric evaluation determined he was not competent to stand trial. The judge ordered him committed to a state psychiatric hospital for an indefinite period. Michael would remain there under strict supervision, receiving treatment for his delusional disorder. He would never be released. Hannah stayed in the hospital for 3 days, regained strength, talked to psychologists, started the long process of recovery. She told them the hardest part would not be adjusting to freedom, would be rebuilding an identity that had been denied for 10 years. Would be figuring out who Hannah Brooks was at 35 when she had been frozen at 25. The psychologist said it would take time, said recovery was not linear, said some days would be harder than others, but said Hannah had already proven she was a survivor, had held on to herself through 10 years of captivity, would find her way back. Linda and Richard took Hannah home to Columbus, set up the guest room for her, gave her space but stayed close. Hannah spent the first week just existing, walked through the house, looked at old photos, and relearned how to be in the world. Went outside without asking permission, opened doors without checking if they were locked, ate meals at the table with her parents. Small things. Normal things. Things she had not done in 10 years. 2 months after being found, Hannah spoke at a press conference, wanted to thank the people who had searched for her, wanted to encourage families of other missing persons not to give up. She stood at a podium with Linda and Richard beside her, spoke in a voice that was steady despite everything. She said she was Hannah Brooks, had been missing for 10 years, had been held captive by someone who refused to see her as herself, who had tried to make her into someone else. Said she survived by holding on to her identity, by remembering her name, her family, her life before. Said her mother had never given up, had searched every Saturday for 10 years, had found a coat in a thrift store, had found a note hidden in a pocket, had brought her home, said if there was someone else out there, someone being held, someone whose family was searching. Do not give up hope. Do not stop looking. Because she had written a note 10 years ago, had hidden it in a coat pocket, had hoped someone would find it. And 10 years later, her mother had. 1 year after coming home, Hannah enrolled in college, started taking psychology courses, wanted to understand what had happened to her, wanted to help others who had experienced similar trauma. She started slowly, one class at a time. Some days were harder than others. Some days, she had to leave campus early because being around crowds triggered anxiety. But she kept going, kept pushing forward. So Hannah also started volunteering at a non-profit that supported families of missing persons, answered phones, talked to parents who were searching, told them her story, told them not to give up, told them that sometimes, against impossible odds, people do come home. She became a symbol of hope for families across the country, proof that searching matters, that 10 years is not too long, that love and persistence can overcome even the most desperate circumstances. Michael Turner stole 10 years of Hannah Brooks's life, kept her locked in a house because she reminded him of someone he had lost, denied her identity, denied her freedom, denied her existence as anyone except the person he wanted her to be. But Hannah survived, held on to herself. It wrote a note that traveled through 10 years and 7 hands before finding its way back to the person who needed to see it most. Someone is still missing. Someone is still searching. Do not stop looking. Do not stop hoping. Because Hannah Brooks came home after 10 years. And her story belongs to every mother who refuses to give up, and to every person who holds on to their identity when the world tries to erase it.